Hey friend, if you are planning a trip to Arches National Park, buckle up because today I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know to have your trip planned. By the end of this video, you should have a really good plan in place for your upcoming trip to Arches National Park. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of dirtinmyshoes, and I am also from Utah, and so I have spent a ton of time in Arches. Probably about once a year, I find myself down in this area, down in the Moab area, visiting the parks there. And so I just know this park like the back of my hand, and I am happy to answer all of your trip planning questions today. So let's jump on into everything you need to know about Arches National Park and how to get a really good plan in place before you go. First things first, I want to show you where in Utah this is because it's a really cool area and there's a lot to do. So here I have the state of Utah, and Arches National Park is down here by Moab. So it's not all the way at the bottom of Utah. It's kind of the central eastern side. But this little orange square right there is Arches. And then this big one right here is Canyonlands. And so when you're in the Arches area, you might also want to visit Canyonlands. They're really close together. It's really nice to be able to go to one place and have, one hotel reservation set up and be in two different parks. So I would highly recommend doing both of these parks at the same time if you can. Now, on top of that, I just want to show you another really fun loop that me and my family like to take. So we're here in Moab to visit Arches and Canyonlands. If you go around this way, close to Montrose, you'll find Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. If you drive down between Montrose, down past Telluride, you don't go right through Telluride, but you kind of go through over here past Ouray. This is the $1 Million Highway, which is really cool. When you get down to Durango, you'll cut over and you have Mesa Verde National Park right down here. So it's a really cool little loop that you can do because you can actually hit 4 national parks just in this small loop between eastern Utah and western Colorado. One more map for you because I want to take a look at Arches National Park specifically. So here's the Arches National Park map, the official one. And if we come down here, you'll see, so here's the town of Moab down here. And then this is Arches National Park. So it's literally like 5 minutes from Moab. It's really convenient. And then as you come into Arches, so you'll enter over here by the visitor center, and then you'll go up the hill and into Arches. And then this is the very end of the park road. So from the beginning to the end, it really only takes about 45 minutes or so to drive the entire park. This is a really small national park, and so you can do a lot in a day here. And it's just really nice. It's really nice for younger kids. It's nice if you just want to pop in for a minute and do something and then go back out into Moab. So it's really convenient for that reason. Now, when you get into Arches, so you'll start driving here, you'll get to Park Avenue, you'll get to some really big rock formations that are not arches in this area. So that's really cool. You really don't start seeing arches until you get up to around the Balanced Rock area. As you're driving along here, you might see some along the skyline and stuff. A lot of times you can see these along the skyline. But when you get to Balanced Rock and you start cutting into here, there's a ton of arches over here by Double Arch, North-South Window, Turret Arch, all of those, which is really cool. I love that area for just seeing a ton of arches with very little work. There's not really any long hiking trails over in that area. And so you just park, you can see stuff from the parking lot. You can get out and walk for a minute if you want to get closer. But it's a really cool area for just seeing a ton of massive arches. Coming up here, this is when you'll get to the Delicate Arch area. And so if you want to hike Delicate Arch, you go here to Wolf Ranch. If you just want to drive and see a couple viewpoints, you can see the arch from far away from these viewpoints. And so that works too. Continuing on, then you're working your way towards the Devil's Garden, which is a very long hiking trail. It's about 7 miles long. It's really cool. But what's crazy about this area here is, again, you just have such a high concentration of arches. So you'll get Sand Dune Arch. You can hike out to these arches over here. You can see Skyline Arch from the road. Then you get to the Devil's Garden trailhead and you can hit a bunch of arches. You can see all these arches back in here. It's just so cool. So the nice thing again about arches is that there are roadside arches if you're not wanting to hike too far. If you do want to do a hike, you can do either all of the hike or just a portion of the hike and get to some more arches. And so I highly recommend giving yourself enough time for this park to get out and see all the different arches. But again, you can do a lot in just a few hours or just in a day. Okay, coming back down, just to give you the lay of the land a little bit more around Arches National Park. So again, we have the town of Moab right here, which is a really big adventure town. There's a ton of stuff to do here. It's super fun. But if you want to go to Canyonlands National Park, there is one district, it's called Island in the Sky, that you can get to via this road right here. So Arches and Canyonlands Island in the Sky District are only about a half an hour, 45 minutes apart. Again, it just makes it really cool to be able to stay in Moab, be in this one area, and hit both national parks. So I do highly recommend that. Now, as far as getting to Arches National Park and getting to the Moab area, if you're flying in, you'll have a few different options for airports. So looking at this map right here, and again, this is on Dirt in My Shoes. If you go to Dirt in My Shoes and you click on Arches National Park, you'll just have a ton of information that goes into more detail than I'm going into in this video. So if you need more information, definitely head here. So you can see here we have Arches National Park right here. There is a regional airport, the Canyonlands Regional Airport, which is really close. You've also got the Grand Junction Regional Airport, which is not too far away, about an hour and a half to 2 hours away. And so if you're okay with flying into a smaller regional airport, then you can get those flights. Typically, they connect in either Salt Lake City or Denver, but it will get you really close to the park. It will just cost you more. So those are options. Now, if you're really wanting to take a flight to a larger airport, one that's cheaper, one that has more flight options, then your best options here will be the Salt Lake City or the Denver airports. I recommend Salt Lake City if you're planning on doing the Utah parks. You can make a big loop. It takes about 5 hours or so to get down to Zion, and then you can cut over and do all the parks in here. So that is what I recommend if you're flying into Arches National Park. So now that you know how to get to Arches National Park and you're more familiar with the lay of the land around this area, let's talk about the best time to visit. So Arches National Park is actually a pretty good year-round park. It does get snow in the winter months, typically into December, January, February. Usually by March, it starts to get warmer and you're not dealing with as much snow. When it does get snow, it's not usually a ton of snow, but it can be enough to close the park road for a couple of hours while they get that plowed. So you will want to keep that in mind if you plan on going during the off season. But again, this park can be visited year round. And in fact, the off season typically is my favorite time to be in the park. A lot of people visit this park during the summer months. That is the main peak season in this park, typically from about April through October. And if you go during the summer, you'll just want to expect really, really hot temperatures in this area. It can easily get to over 100 degrees during the day. And so you'll want to plan your schedule and your activities so that you're avoiding being out hiking in the middle of the day. You'll want to split those up and maybe take a nice pool break at your hotel in the middle of the day if you're visiting during the summer, because it does just get really hot and there's very little shade in this park. You've got all the red rocks everywhere that reflect the sun back up to you, and so it can feel even hotter than the actual temperature outside. So definitely keep that in mind if you're planning on traveling during the summer. A lot of people do. I personally do not. I don't like summer in Arches. It's just way too hot for me. And so I like to go more in the shoulder seasons or the off season. So if you can go in April, that is a really, really nice time to be in Arches. I love being in Arches in April. It's warm enough to get out and you can do everything. Everything's open. But it's just not as hot and crowded as it is during the summer. May is really nice as well, but May is a very busy month in the park, so you'll want to keep that in mind. If you want to go during the fall, I typically like to wait until about the last week of October or so. If you can avoid the Utah school break, the fall break in the middle of October, and go after that, that is a great time to be there. I love being there like the last week of October or so and into November. The weather typically holds and it can be really, really nice at that time of year. And again, you will find me in Arches during the winter months. I really like to go to Arches usually sometime around February or so. There can still be some snow on the trails, but it is so quiet and so peaceful, and we've had no problem getting out and hiking trails. So I do really like to go in the off season a little bit more in this park. But again, if you're visiting during the main season, just be prepared for the heat and plan accordingly for that. One thing you'll always want to note while planning a trip to a national park is that things are constantly changing. When you're dealing with Mother Nature, when you're trying to make your plans, you'll just want to make sure that you're checking the Arches National Park official website pretty regularly, because things are constantly changing, and that will help you know what's going on in the park at that time. To get my specific help and recommendations for what I would do in Arches to help you navigate any of those alerts or any of those conditions that pop up on the Arches webpage, you can get an Arches itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes. This itinerary is a step-by-step plan that will walk you through everything that you need to know. You don't need to do any additional planning. And so that's really nice if you want me to really help you with this. I have 1 day and 2 day options. And so if you're just really needing more help making a plan and making sure you know what to do in the park and what I would do while I was in the park, then this itinerary will help you immensely. I will link the itinerary in the video description below so that you can take a look and see if that would be a good option for you and your group. Let's talk about how much time you actually need in Arches National Park. So for me personally, I like to give myself about 1.5 to 2 days to explore Arches. It is a small park, but there are some really cool things that you can do here. And so to give you that amount of time, it won't be wasted. Even if you decide not to spend that much time in Arches, there's plenty to do around the area. And so to give yourself 2 days, you'll definitely be able to fill that amount of time. Now, if you plan on also visiting Canyonlands National Park, if you want to go to the Island in the Sky, which is the district closest to Arches, then I would give yourself a whole nother day to get over there and to explore that area. And if you want to go to the Needles portion of Canyonlands, which is a separate district, which is further away, then you'll need 1 more day at least. So we're talking, you could easily get to both Arches and Canyonlands in 2 to 3 days. But I would lean more towards the 3 to 4 day time frame if you're hoping to see both parks really well and really dig into the Moab area and all that there is to do here. Okay, so now that we've talked about the best time to go, how to get to Arches, how many days to spend in this area, let's talk about where to stay. And luckily for Arches, this is a pretty easy answer. And so what you'll want to do is you'll want to focus your lodging around the town of Moab. I have a full article on Dirt in My Shoes about where to stay, but basically you can see that Arches has this main entrance right here. You've got the town of Moab right here. And so that's just so convenient for the park. Now, if you're hoping to stay in Arches National Park, you only have one option, and that is camping. There is no lodge in Arches, and so if you're wanting to be in the park, you will have to camp. But again, you can go out to Moab, you can find all types of lodging options in Moab and just be 5 to 10 minutes away from the park. So it's really convenient. There's no reason to stay in the park if you don't want to camp. Don't force yourself. You can find some really good lodging in Moab. If you do want to camp and you do want to stay in Arches National Park, or you're wanting to camp nearby, then I have a full video about camping in Arches that you can watch, and I'll walk you through some of my favorite options and how to get a site. So definitely check that out if you're hoping to camp. But if you're hoping to stay in a hotel, just stay in Moab. It is the easiest and best option for exploring Arches. Okay, and now to the fun part, which is talking about the fun things that you can do in Arches National Park. And I also wanted to include some ideas for the surrounding area because there is just a ton to do in this area. Again, any type of outdoorsy activity that you could dream of, you can probably find in Moab. And so let's talk about some of the fun things you can do in the park, and then we'll jump to some of the activities nearby. If you want a full list of all of my recommendations, you'll find the best things to do in Arches National Park article on Dirt in My Shoes. And this is a massive article that just includes all of these different types of activities depending on what your interests are and what you're hoping to do. So definitely check that out for more in-depth information. The absolute number one thing that I would not miss in Arches National Park is seeing Delicate Arch. This arch is massive, and if you've seen the license plate for the state of Utah, a lot of times it has that arch on it. And so it's just one of those iconic places in the West and in Utah, and so you'll definitely want to see it while you're here. There are a few different ways to see it. So you can hike the trail that takes you right to the base. You can stand right underneath it, and it will absolutely take your breath away. It is easily one of my top favorite hiking trails in Utah because it's just incredible. Like you can see it in pictures and you can think that it looks really cool in pictures, but until you stand there, it's not the same. So this arch it takes a 3-mile trail to get here. It's 3 miles round trip. It's about 500 feet of elevation gain. So it's a good amount of gain as you're working your way to the base of this arch. But for most people, it's a trail that is doable. You'll see a lot of families on this trail. It's not as hard as some other trails to some impressive things. So that's nice. You can see something really cool with a relatively doable trail for most people. If you don't want to hike or you can't hike this 3-mile trail, then there are a couple of viewpoints that you can go to see the arch. You'll see the arch from further away, so you're not nearly as close as you get to with the hiking trail, but it is still cool to see it even if you're a little further away. So definitely make sure that you either hike the trail or go to those viewpoints so that you can see Delicate Arch while you're in Arches. The other arch that I definitely would make time to see is Landscape Arch. This one's about a 1.5 mile trail. It's mostly flat, so that's nice. Again, it's a good one for families and people who don't normally like to hike, but you can get out to Landscape Arch, which is the longest arch in the park. It's massive, it's really wide, and very impressive. So definitely make sure you get to see that one as well. That one has been eroding pretty quickly. A huge chunk of it fell off some years back, and they had to close a portion of the trail that took you up underneath it because it's just pretty unstable. But because of that, we don't really know how long Landscape Arch will still be there. And so if you want to see it, you should definitely see it on your trip to Arches. The last arch that I definitely would not miss in this park is Double Arch. It is huge, and it only takes a short walk from the parking lot to get to the base of this arch. You can see it from the parking lot as well, so if you don't want to walk at all, you can still stop by here and really enjoy just how amazing it is. And so Double Arch is definitely one of those that you will want to see while you're in Arches. Between Delicate Arch, Landscape Arch, and Double Arch, you have seen some incredible arches, but Arches National Park has over 2,000 cataloged arches. So there are a lot more for you to see. If you want to hike a little bit more, if you want to go jeeping, that's an option in this park. There's different ways to see all the mini arches in this park. If you love to hike, I highly recommend hiking the whole Devil's Garden Trail. It's a big adventure. You'll see a ton of arches along this trail, and they're very impressive. And so that would be my number one choice for a good long hiking trail in Arches National Park. If you love ranger programs, then I would sign up for the Fiery Furnace Ranger-led hike if you can get tickets. It's pretty competitive to get those tickets, but it's a really fun adventure through an area of the park that is like a maze. It's hard to navigate, and it's nice to have a ranger leading you through that. So I definitely recommend that if you really love ranger-led tours. that one is the perfect option for you. The stargazing in this park is incredible, so be sure to spend an evening. I personally would stay for the sunset. Sunset is gorgeous in this park with the golden hour, all the light hitting those arches, it's fantastic. But then when the sun goes down and those stars come out, they are incredibly impressive. You can see the Milky Way really well. This park is really popular for astrophotography and things like that. But just a little stargazing will be sure to blow your mind. So make sure you spend an evening in the park really enjoying the sunset and the stars. So the one thing that I really love about the Arches area is that there are so many high adventure activity options. You can go rafting down the Colorado River that goes right down through the town of Moab. You can rock climb. There's tons of rock climbing. Mountain biking. So there is a massive trail system for mountain biking in the Moab area. It's so popular, and there are some really, really fun mountain biking trails out here. So if you're into biking, that's a huge thing to do while you're in Moab. Also, jeeping, UTVing, ATVing, all of those off-road vehicle activities are just a huge thing to do in this area as well. And so when you get down to Moab, if you haven't been here before, it'll probably be a little bit of a shock just because there are Jeeps everywhere. There are UTVs everywhere. There, again, is just like a huge, massive trail system that goes through this area so that if you want to go down some dirt roads, there's just infinite possibilities for you. And some of these roads are extremely technical, which require your Jeep or your vehicle to be at some pretty crazy angles as you're navigating through here. But there are some more beginner-friendly options as well. So if you've never done Jeeping and you want to try it, there are definitely some cool trails for you. There's actually a really cool Jeeping trail through Arches National Park that a lot of people don't know about, and doing that is like one of my favorite ways to get off the beaten path in Arches. But you can go through this network of trails everywhere. You don't have to be in Arches. They are just all over the place surrounding Moab. So that's a huge thing. And if you're looking for some extra fun adventure, those are some of the things that I would try as you're in this Moab area that are outside of the park. And then again, you have Canyonlands National Park right there, so you can easily spend another day or two exploring that national park. You've got Dead Horse Point State Park, which is up there by Canyonlands Island in the sky, and it is absolutely beautiful, just some gorgeous views from there. You can Jeep in Canyonlands and underneath Dead Horse Point State Park down by the river, which is really cool. So some really neat options in that Canyonlands area as well. So again, you'll never run out of activities in this Moab area of Utah. There are just so many things to do. Arches is just one of them. So be sure to branch out and try something new while you're here. Okay, so we're wrapping up the trip planning portion of this video. We're almost done here, but there are a couple more things that I want to mention that are important things to know about Arches National Park. The first thing, and I mentioned this before, is that it gets really hot in the summer. And so be sure to bring all of the sun protection that you can. If you're camping, you'll want to bring some shade to put over your tent or to put over your picnic table. Make sure you have lots of sunscreen, tons of water. Wear a hat if you can. Wear some longer layers that are sun protective layers, especially if you're visiting during those main summer months. So that's a really big thing that you'll definitely want to note. The other thing is that Arches National Park itself really doesn't have that much water. And I'm talking about like places to fill up your water bottle. It's kind of a surprise. You would think that being in such a harsh desert landscape, there would just be more water bottle fill stations and things like that, but that's really not the case. So looking at the Arches map again, the places that you can get water in this park are here at the Visitor Center, right at the beginning of the road, and then all the way up here at the Devil's Garden. There's a water spigot there at that trailhead. So everything in between does not have water, and that's really important to note because especially if you're planning on hiking the Delicate Arch Trail, which goes up here, There is no water here. There are pit toilets, and when you see the toilet marking, those are all pit toilets. There's not running water in these areas. And so you'll have a pit toilet, and that's about it. No running water, no place to fill bottles. So when I'm in Arches National Park, I always keep a ton of water in my car. We just buy those big packs of water bottles or the big jugs of water to fill up our bottles as we're out exploring, because it's just hard to find water filling stations in this park. In addition to bringing water, you'll want to bring food with you as well, because there's nowhere to get food in this park. There's no restaurants or anything. Again, it just doesn't have a lot of amenities. Because you can find so many amenities in Moab, I think it's just, they felt like it wasn't necessary to put them in Arches. So if you're wanting to eat while, if you're hoping to spend the whole day in Arches, you'll want to bring a picnic. You'll want to make sure you have lots of snacks, things like that, because there's no place to get those in the national park itself. Now, because this area is a desert, it is hard to see wildlife here. There's not a whole lot of wildlife that you'll really see in this park for most people. I've not had a lot of great luck seeing wildlife. It is there, but it does stay hidden, it seems. So, but what you will find in Arches that's really interesting is it actually has a living soil. It's called cryptobiotic soil. And so this soil is made up of tiny little organisms that grow on top of the ground and hold everything together. It's really critical for this desert environment that soil is there so that everything doesn't just erode away really fast. So keeping that in mind, because this is a huge thing in Arches National Park, is that it is really, really important to stay on the trail here. We don't want to crush the cryptobiotic soil. It takes hundreds of years to grow. And so just one footstep through this soil can ruin hundreds of years of growth and make it so that it has to start over and start rebuilding for another couple hundreds of years. So definitely please stay on the trail here. It's really important that soil continues to grow. It's really important to a lot of the plants and animals in this region. And so just stay on the trail and have your own adventures. You can climb up on the rocks and stuff, but just make sure you're staying on the trails. And my final piece of advice for Arches National Park, and this is a big one, so you definitely don't want to miss this. My final piece of advice is that Arches National Park is so busy. It's so busy. And so you'll want to get into the park either early in the mornings or later, like around dinner time. If you try to go into this park in the middle of the day, it can just be miserable. Keep that in mind. This park is just really small, and there's really only the one main entrance in and out that people use. And so things get really congested at that entrance station, and it can feel really busy while you're trying to get into the park. But hopefully this video has helped you get your trip planning jump started. Hopefully I've answered most of your questions. If you go to dirtinmyshoes.com and click on Arches, there's a ton more information there for you. But I am so excited for you to visit this national park, and I hope that you have a fantastic time getting dirt in your shoes at Arches.